Ex-wife left me for her new hubby, but I level up while they struggle and can't afford their lifestyle. So, me and Lisa, my ex-wife, split up like 13 years ago, right? At first, things were pretty rough, but we figured out how to handle custody of our kids, Mia and Jake. Mia's almost an adult now, and Jake's in his teenage years. We've got this 50-50th custody thing going on, which honestly works out fine most of the time. No child support needed because we both spend the same amount of time with the kids and we split all their costs down the middle. School fees, medical bills, sports, all that. It's fair, right? Now here's the thing. I've been saving for these kids from day one. When Mia was born, I opened an account for her. Same with Jake when he came along. Every little bit I could save went into those accounts. I knew I couldn't always rely on everything being smooth between me and Lisa, so I wanted to make sure the kids were set for the future no matter what. But then, something happened. About 8 years ago, I got hurt at work. Nothing too crazy, but bad enough that I had to take some time off and got a settlement. Wasn't $1 million or anything, but it was enough to make a difference. And the first thing I thought, this is going straight into Mia and Jake's future. So I put a nice chunk of that settlement into their accounts. That wasn't the end of it either. About 4 years ago, I had this aunt. Didn't know her super well, but apparently she thought highly of me. She passed away and left me a bit of cash in her will. Again, not a fortune, but enough that I could make sure the kids wouldn't have to stress about college, or whatever else they wanted to do when they grew up. So yeah, I put that money in their accounts too. With all of that, they're sitting pretty good. If they decide to go to college or not, they'll have some options, you know? Anyway, while all this was happening, Lisa had moved on. She's remarried now to a guy named Dave. Dave's got his own situation. He's got a teenage stepdaughter from a previous relationship, a nephew they're raising, and he and Lisa had 2 more kids together. So, they've got a house full of kids, and I guess money's tighter than they expected. One day, Lisa hits me up and says we need to talk about college for Mia and Jake. I figured, okay, makes sense. I mean, we're getting to that point where we need to start thinking seriously about their future. So, we meet up, and she starts talking about how she and Dave sat all their kids down to tell them that community college is the most affordable option. They're going to help out as much as they can, but anything more than that is just too expensive. I just sit there, listening, waiting for the part where she gets to the point. And then she hits me with, but you know, we could probably help Mia and Jake a little more, right? That's when I let her know. Actually, I've been saving for them. There's enough in their accounts to give them some real choices. The look on her face, priceless. She's all, wait, what? Why didn't you tell me this before? And I'm thinking, why would I need to? But I told her straight up, I've been taking care of our kids. It's not something you needed to know. She didn't like that answer, but hey, it's the truth. I've always handled what I need to handle for them, and I didn't see the point in telling her when it didn't affect her. Now, this is where things start to get weird. A few days later, she calls me again. Only this time, Dave's on the phone too, and I'm thinking, uh-oh, what's this about? Lisa starts off by saying how they've been thinking about the whole college thing and how tight money is for them right now. Then she drops the bomb. We were hoping you could start paying child support again, just for the next few years, so we can save more for the other kids. I'm sorry, what? At first, I wasn't sure if I heard her right. Child support? For our kids? Who we already split time and expenses for equally. So they can save for their other kids? I told them, no way, that's not happening. I'm not paying child support so they can save money for Dave's kids. But then, get this, Dave chimes in. This guy barely knows me, right? But he's suddenly trying to act like we're all one big happy family. He says, you know, you could always split the money you've saved for Mia and Jake with the other kids. That way they all get a fair shot. A fair shot? Are you kidding me? I looked at my phone like it had grown another head. I told them, flat out, that's not happening. I'm not paying for your kids to go to college. The money I've saved is for Mia and Jake, and that's where it's staying. Lisa goes quiet for a second, and I think maybe she's finally getting it. But no, she starts telling me how I'm being cruel, how I'm making things harder on their whole family, and how this should be a no-brainer for me. At this point, I'd had enough. I told her, look, the only way I'd be responsible for your whole household is if we never broke up. But guess what? We did. So you're going to have to accept that you're equally responsible for Mia and Jake, just like me. Now, I'm not going to lie. Part of me felt like maybe I was being too harsh. But seriously, what do they expect me to do? I'm just trying to take care of my kids. I've been doing that since day one. And I'm not about to let someone else's family become my responsibility. If they're having money problems, that's on them. I've got my own kids to worry about. After that, they both started calling me every name under the sun, You're selfish, you're cruel, you don't care about family, all that nonsense. But I stood my ground. At the end of the day, I'm not here to fund their entire household. I'll always do what's right for my kids, but that's where the line gets drawn. So now I'm sitting here thinking, am I the bad guy for refusing to help their other kids? Or is this just another case of people trying to take advantage? Honestly, I don't know. But I do know one thing. Mia and Jake are my priority, and I'm not about to let anyone guilt me into doing something that's not my responsibility. All right, so after that insane phone call with Lisa and Dave, I figured things would cool down, right? I mean, I said my piece. I wasn't going to pay for their other kids, and that should have been the end of it. But nah, of course it wasn't. Things never really end that easily, do they? About a week later, I'm just minding my business when I get a text from Lisa. She's asking if we can sit down and have a serious discussion about the kids. At this point, I'm thinking, what now? But I agreed because, co-parenting and all that. I figured it'd be some normal stuff like schedules or school or something. We meet up at this coffee shop and she's got that look. You know the one. Like she's gearing up for something. She doesn't even bother with small talk and jumps straight into it. So I've been talking to Mia, she says. I'm immediately like, oh great, what now? Apparently, Lisa's been trying to guilt trip our daughter into thinking about her step-siblings' futures. She starts going on about how Mia should consider sharing some of her college money with Dave's kids. I couldn't believe it. She's only 17, I told Lisa. Why are you putting that kind of pressure on her? Lisa, acting all innocent, goes, I'm just trying to teach her about family. It's important for her to learn how to share, how to help others. I looked at her like she had 3 heads. Teach her about family? Are you kidding me? This isn't about sharing toys, Lisa. We're talking about her future. You can't just guilt her into giving up her money for kids that aren't even hers. She tries to spin it like I'm the bad guy. You're just making things worse by being so stubborn about this. I'm only trying to prepare her for the real world where people have to make sacrifices. I had to sit back for a second. The real world? Sacrifices? Look, I'm all for teaching kids life lessons, but not like this. Not when it comes to their future, their education, their chances to succeed. You're the one putting unnecessary stress on her, I told Lisa. She doesn't need to worry about Dave's kids' college funds. That's not her responsibility, and you know it. Lisa starts getting all huffy, saying I'm being unreasonable, that I should see things from her perspective. But here's the thing. Her perspective is entirely selfish. She's just trying to find a way to take advantage of the situation because she and Dave can't manage their own finances. I finally cut her off and said, look, if you need more money so bad, maybe you and Dave should look at your own spending habits instead of trying to dig into Mia and Jake's future. And that's when she really lost it. She starts talking about how hard it is for them, how they're struggling to make ends meet with all the kids in the house. And I get it. Raising kids isn't cheap, especially when you've got as many as they do. But at the end of the day, that's their problem, not mine. And definitely not our kids' problem. I wasn't having it. You're not struggling enough to give up your fancy vacations or your shopping sprees, though, are you? I asked her. Probably a little harsher than I meant to. But seriously, it's the truth. Every time I see them, they're talking about some new trip they're planning or Dave's latest gadget or whatever. She just glared at me, obviously pissed. You wouldn't understand, she said, like I'm some kind of alien who's never dealt with a budget before. Yeah, well, Mia and Jake don't need to understand it either, I said. They don't owe you or Dave anything. And if you keep trying to mess with their heads about this, we're going to have a real problem. She stormed out after that, but I didn't care. I knew I'd made my point, or at least I hoped I did. But here's where it gets worse. I figured Lisa would leave it alone after our talk, but of course, she didn't. A few days later, Mia comes home looking all stressed out. I ask her what's going on, and she tells me that her mom's been going on and on about how unfair it is that her step-siblings won't get the same college opportunities. Now, Mia's a smart kid. She's not easily swayed, but I could tell it was starting to weigh on her. She says, Mom keeps saying that since you saved so much for us, it's only fair that we help out a little. I was fuming. Like, how could Lisa put this on her? How could she make her own daughter feel bad about having something her step-siblings don't? That's not Mia's fault, and it's definitely not her job to fix it. Mia, I told her, listen to me. The money I've saved for you is yours and Jake's. That's it. Your mom and Dave are responsible for their own kids. You don't have to feel guilty about it. She nodded, but I could tell it still bothered her. And that just pissed me off even more. How dare Lisa try to manipulate her like that? She's a teenager, for crying out loud. She should be worrying about her future, not about how to fund her step-siblings' college dreams. After that, I made it clear to Mia that if her mom brought it up again, She should just tell her to talk to me. I wasn't about to let Lisa dump her financial problems onto our daughter. But still, I could see the damage was done. Mia's a good kid, too good sometimes. She's always trying to do the right thing, always trying to make everyone happy. And it kills me that her mom's taking advantage of that. I ended up texting Lisa that night, telling her to back off. I wasn't playing nice anymore. I told her if she keeps pushing this, I'll take the kids full time if that's what it takes to keep her from messing with their heads. I didn't get a reply, but honestly, I didn't need one. She knows I mean business. And yeah, maybe that was harsh. Maybe it'll cause more tension down the line. But I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes to protect Mia and Jake from getting dragged into their mom's mess. This is about their future, and I'm not letting anyone, not even their own mom, jeopardize that. So yeah, that's where things stand right now. Lisa's still trying to play her little games, but I'm not budging. I've got my kids' backs, and I'm ready for whatever's next. Update 1. All right, so after all that nonsense with Lisa trying to guilt-trip Mia into sharing her college money, I thought things might finally calm down. But nope, not even close. Turns out, that was just the beginning of the chaos. A couple of weeks go by, and I get a call from Jake's school. I'm thinking it's one of those regular check-ins. Maybe something about grades or sports. But it's not. The school counselor wants to talk to me because Jake's been acting out. Now, if you know Jake, you know he's a pretty laid-back kid, not one to cause trouble. So I'm immediately concerned. I go in to meet with the counselor, and she tells me that Jake's been getting into arguments with other kids, his grades are slipping, and he's been withdrawn lately. Naturally, my first thought is that something's going on with him, and maybe he's not telling me. So I sit him down later that day and ask him what's up. At first, Jake brushes it off, saying it's nothing, just normal school stress. But I know my kid, and I can tell something's eating at him. After a little more pushing, he finally opens up. Dad, it's just, I don't know how to handle it when I'm at Mom's house anymore, he says. What do you mean? I ask. Well, it's like every time we're over there, Mom and Dave are always talking about money, about how they don't have enough for all the kids and how it's not fair that me and Mia have everything set. That hit me like a ton of bricks. I knew Lisa was pulling that crap with Mia, but hearing that Jake's been hearing this same junk too, that's a whole other level of messed up. Apparently, whenever Jake's at his mom's, he's constantly overhearing these conversations about how unfair it is that they're struggling with 4 kids and how lucky he and Mia are because of the money I saved for them. And not only that, but Dave's been making little comments around him, stuff like, must be nice to have a rich dad, or guess you don't need to worry about your future like the rest of us. Are you kidding me? I asked Jake why he didn't tell me sooner, and he just shrugs, saying he didn't want to make a big deal out of it. He's a good kid, you know? Doesn't like stirring up trouble, but I could tell it's been weighing on him. And now it's affecting him at school. At that point, I was done with being polite. I called Lisa as soon as Jake went to his room and let her know exactly what I thought about the crap they'd been pulling. I told her to knock it off with the guilt tripping, or I'd take it to court if I had to. I was not about to let her and Dave mess with our son's head just because they couldn't handle their own situation. Of course, Lisa tried to defend herself, saying, "We're not trying to guilt trip him. We're just being open about our struggles." I told her flat out, there's a difference between being honest and making a kid feel bad for something that's completely out of his control. Jake's been stressing about stuff he shouldn't even have to think about. She tried to play it off like it wasn't a big deal, but I wasn't having it. I told her this was her last warning. Either stop putting this pressure on the kids or I'd get the courts involved. It's not ideal, but I'll do whatever it takes to protect my kids. After I hung up, I decided to sit down with Jake again and let him know that none of this was his fault. I told him, look, what's going on at your mom's? That's not on you. It's on her and Dave to figure out their own situation, and you don't need to worry about it. He just nodded, but I could tell he was relieved. Still, I knew this wasn't going to be something that'd magically fix itself overnight. The next part of this whole mess came a few days later when Mia, Jake, and I were hanging out. Mia had just gotten home from seeing her mom, and she seemed off. I asked her what was up, and she said, Mom keeps bringing up this idea about sharing the money again. It's like she won't drop it. I could feel the anger bubbling up inside me. Lisa hadn't learned anything from our last conversation, clearly. But before I could even say anything, Mia looks at me and goes, but I told her it's not happening. She got all mad, but I don't care. I know what's right. I was so proud of her in that moment. I mean, this is a kid who's had to deal with so much pressure from her own mother, and she's still standing her ground. I couldn't help but give her a hug and tell her how proud I was. After that, I figured things might die down. But nope, Lisa wasn't done causing problems. One night, Jake gets a text from his mom while we're having dinner. He shows it to me, and it's her asking if he'd be willing to help out with the younger kids' school expenses. Seriously? She's now texting our son directly, asking him to chip in for stuff that's her responsibility. I grabbed Jake's phone and texted back myself. If you need help, talk to me. Don't involve Jake in this. Lisa didn't respond, but I didn't need her to. I made it crystal clear that the kids are not her solution to her financial problems. Here's the thing. Being a parent is tough. I get that. But it's not the kids' job to fix the mess the adults have created. I've saved for Mia and Jake because I wanted to give them a good future, not because I thought it'd turn into this weird guilt contest. At the end of the day, I know my kids. They're good people, and they shouldn't have to deal with this kind of crap. It's on me to shield them from it, and that's exactly what I'm going to keep doing. Now, I've been thinking about my next steps. I don't want to go through the courts unless I absolutely have to, but if Lisa keeps pulling this nonsense, I'll do it. I'm not going to let her and Dave guilt trip our kids anymore. It's not fair and it's not right. So, yeah, that's where things are now. I'm keeping a close eye on everything, making sure Jake and Mia know that they don't owe anyone anything. They deserve to have a future that's theirs, free from all this drama, and if I have to keep fighting for that, I will. Update 2. All right, so after everything with Lisa trying to drag Mia and Jake into her financial mess, I thought, okay, this has got to be it. Like, how much more could she possibly try? But clearly I underestimated just how far she was willing to push things. About a week or so after the whole thing with Jake's school and Mia standing her ground, I get a call. This time it's from Dave. Yeah, Dave. I was already on edge before I even picked up the phone. Like, what the hell could he possibly want now? He starts off trying to be all casual, which was honestly weird. He's like, hey man, how's it going? And I'm sitting there thinking, just get to the point, dude. Then he says, listen, I wanted to talk to you about something. I know things have been tense between you and Lisa lately, and I get it, but I think we can work something out. I'm just quiet, waiting for whatever BS he's about to lay on me. And then he hits me with, look, we're really struggling over here. With 4 kids, it's hard, and I was thinking, maybe we could come to an agreement where you help out a little more, for the good of the family. I had to take a second because honestly, I thought I'd misheard him. For the good of the family? What family? The only family I'm responsible for is Mia and Jake. That's it. I calmly told him, Dave, I've been more than fair. I've saved for my kids' future, and I'm doing my part. I'm not about to start paying for your kids. That's on you and Lisa. But then Dave starts getting defensive, talking about how it's all about the kids, and how I should think of it like I'm helping out a bigger family unit. At this point, I'm losing my patience, but I keep it together and just say, my responsibility starts and ends with Mia and Jake. That's it. I'm not going to change that because you're having trouble making ends meet. And that's when things start getting ugly. He starts raising his voice, saying how selfish I'm being, how I don't care about the fact that my kids' siblings are struggling. He even tried to throw in some guilt trip about how it's affecting his kids' self-esteem, knowing that Mia and Jake have money for college while they don't. I wasn't having it. I cut him off and said, look, Dave, I don't know how else to say this, but your kids are not my responsibility. I've done everything I need to do for my own kids, and I'm not going to feel guilty because you and Lisa are struggling. That's your issue to figure out, not mine. Dave wasn't happy with that answer, obviously. He starts going off saying how unfair I'm being, how I'm making things harder on their whole family. I could hear Lisa in the background trying to calm him down, but he was on a roll now. Finally, I just told him, if you guys need more help, then maybe you should stop spending so much on things you don't need. I see the vacations, I see the shopping. You can't come to me and ask for money when you're living like that. That's when Dave really lost it. He starts accusing me of being nosy, saying I have no right to judge how they spend their money. And sure, maybe I don't. But when they're coming to me, asking me to chip in for their kids, yeah, I think I have every right to point out the obvious. He ended up hanging up on me, which, to be honest, was a relief. I was done with the conversation anyway, but the thing that really pissed me off, the fact that he even thought it was okay to call me and ask for more money in the first place. Like, how many times do I have to say it? My kids are my priority, and that's where my money's going. But here's where it gets even crazier. The next day, I'm at work, and I get a text from Mia. She's like, Dad, can we talk when you get home? Something happened with Mom. Immediately, I'm worried. Mia doesn't usually send messages like that unless something's seriously bothering her. So I get home that night, and she's waiting for me in the kitchen. I can tell she's upset, and she starts telling me about this huge argument she had with Lisa. Apparently, Lisa had brought up the whole sharing the college fund thing again. But this time she wasn't just talking about it, she was demanding it. She told Mia that it was time for her to step up and be a real part of the family by agreeing to split her college money with her step-siblings. Mia, being the strong kid she is, stood her ground again and told her mom that it wasn't happening. And that's when Lisa really went off. She accused Mia of being selfish, of not caring about her family, and even tried to tell her that I was the one who had brainwashed her into being so cold-hearted. Brainwashed? Are you serious? Mia was in tears by the end of it, and I don't blame her. It's bad enough that her mom keeps bringing this up, but now she's making it a personal attack. I was furious. I've always tried to keep things civil between me and Lisa for the sake of the kids, but this was crossing a line. I called Lisa that night. I didn't yell, didn't lose my temper, but I made it very clear that this crap needed to stop. I told her, "This isn't a negotiation. Mia's money is her money. If you bring this up again, I'll take legal action if I have to." Lisa tried to backtrack, saying she didn't mean to upset Mia, but I wasn't buying it. I told her, "This is the last time I'm having this conversation. Keep Mia and Jake out of your financial problems, or we'll handle this through the courts." She finally shut up after that, but I could tell she was pissed. But honestly, I didn't care anymore. My priority is protecting my kids, and I wasn't going to let her guilt them into feeling responsible for something that isn't their problem. So yeah, things are tense, to say the least. But I'm done playing nice. Lisa and Dave can figure out their own mess. My kids are going to have their futures secured, and that's all that matters to me. Update 3. Alright, so here's where everything really hits the fan. After all the craziness with Lisa trying to guilt-trip Mia and Jake, and Dave's ridiculous phone call asking me to help out financially, I thought things had finally settled down. But of course, that was just wishful thinking on my part. A couple of weeks go by, and I get an email. It's from a lawyer. Yeah, you read that right. Lisa hired a lawyer. At first, I'm thinking, what the hell is this about? So I open the email, and right there, it's a formal notice that Lisa is filing for child support. She's claiming that our 50/50ths arrangement isn't working anymore and that she's the primary caregiver for the kids, which means I should be paying her child support to help with their expenses. I couldn't believe it. We've had the same 50/50th split for years, and suddenly she's saying it's not working? And the nerve to try to say she's the primary caregiver? I've been there for every school event, every doctor's appointment, every single thing. And now she's going to try to pull this? I called up my lawyer immediately. We go over the whole situation and I explain everything, how we split everything evenly, how the kids are with me half the time, and how I've been saving for their future all along. My lawyer says it sounds like Lisa's just trying to use the system to get more money out of me, which, let's be honest, isn't a shock at this point. But here's where it gets even more messed up. As part of her case, Lisa's claiming that she and Dave are financially struggling because they have to support all their kids, and that I need to help out since Mia and Jake are part of that household. I was floored. She's actually trying to legally argue that I should be responsible for helping her and Dave raise their other kids. I mean, seriously, how do you even get the audacity to make that kind of argument in court? Anyway, my lawyer wasn't having it. We put together a solid defense, pointing out that I've been more than fair when it comes to supporting Mia and Jake. And not only that, but I also submitted records showing how much I've saved for the kids' future, just to prove that I've been doing my part, and then some. We get a court date set, and let me tell you, I was ready for this. I'd had enough of Lisa's games. If she wanted to take this to court, fine. I was prepared. The day of the hearing comes, and I walk into that courtroom with all my paperwork, feeling confident. Lisa and Dave are already there, and I can tell by the look on their faces that they're still convinced they're going to win this. It's almost funny, honestly, because they have no idea what's coming. The hearing starts, and Lisa's lawyer gets up there, talking about how unfair it is that Lisa and Dave are struggling while I'm sitting on all this money. They go on and on about how hard it is for them to support 4 kids, and how the court should order me to pay child support to level the playing field. I'm sitting there, just shaking my head. When it's my turn, my lawyer absolutely dismantles their argument. She points out that our custody arrangement has been 50/50ths for years, and that Lisa's only bringing this up now because she and Dave can't manage their finances. She also drops the bombshell that Lisa and Dave have been trying to get Mia and Jake to share their college money with the other kids, which really got the judge's attention. Then my lawyer lays out all the proof. Bank statements showing how I've saved for the kids, the fact that I've been an active and involved parent the whole time, and how Lisa's just trying to squeeze more money out of me for her other kids. The judge listens to all of it and then turns to Lisa's lawyer. And let me tell you, the look on Lisa's face at that moment was priceless. The judge pretty much shut down every argument they made. He said that our 50/50ths arrangement was working perfectly fine and that there was no reason to change it. He also made it very clear that I was only responsible for my kids, and that Lisa and Dave's financial struggles were their own problem to solve. When the judge ruled in my favor, I could see Lisa was furious. She didn't say a word to me, but I knew she was livid. Dave, too. They just stormed out of the courtroom like they couldn't believe what had just happened. And honestly, I felt a huge sense of relief. I wasn't trying to be petty, but I'd had enough of being dragged into their financial drama. I was just glad that the judge saw through all the BS and ruled in a way that was fair to Mia, Jake, and me. But here's the kicker. After the court case, things got really quiet from Lisa's side. No more guilt tripping, no more ridiculous requests for money. It's like they finally realized that I wasn't going to cave no matter how much they pushed. And honestly, that's all I ever wanted. Just for them to back off and let me take care of my kids without all this unnecessary drama. So, yeah, that's pretty much where things are now. I'm still focused on making sure Mia and Jake have everything they need, and I'm not letting Lisa and Dave's problems get in the way of that. The whole court thing was a mess, but in the end, I'm just glad it's over, and I can finally move on without having to constantly look over my shoulder for whatever nonsense they're going to try next. Mia and Jake are doing great, by the way. Mia's got her eyes set on college, and Jake's focusing more on school now that things have calmed down. And me? I'm just trying to be the best dad I can be, knowing that I did everything I could to protect their future. That's it. That's where the story ends, at least for now. I'm sure there'll be more challenges ahead, but after everything we've been through, I know we can handle it.